All right, today we're going to talk about the connection between your WordPress website and your database. We just did a video on site migration, and we kind of, it was very high level. I think it was like 9 minutes, which is slightly ridiculous to do a site migration video that quickly. But the goal was just to keep it super high level. Like you just move your folder and move your database, make sure they're connected, and off you go. So today I just want to talk a little bit more about the database connection, and just kind of focus on the pieces that are important. And hopefully the goal of this is just kind of to get you thinking of how to better troubleshoot your website when things go wrong. So, okay. So if you watched the other video, you saw that we moved everything into, or we did a migration over to new site. I guess we can go ahead and look at this beautiful thing. So it's just a basic site with our cute little flower there. So, and again, I'm in SiteGround. All hosting companies will look very different. The one thing that you will find some consistencies with is PHPMyAdmin. In general, I've already zoomed. Good for me. So you'll find some similarities. You'll find consistency with PHPMyAdmin. But again, like we mentioned the other day, it's an application sitting on the server that SiteGround just gives me access to. So, and then most, and again, this is just my experience, but most hosting companies will give you this, including, I use SiteGround and WP Engine. I love them both equally, because they just have amazing support. So, and they're good quality, and the sites don't go down, and they have good malware stuff and blah, blah, blah. So, all right, so let's move on. So basically, again, a smidge of a 30,000 foot view is your site connection. I guess we should look at this list of files here for a second. So in a standard WordPress installation, this is really what you'll see. As I mentioned the other day, you don't need the error log. It will kind of create itself. You don't really have to delete it, but I'm a little picky. So you have 3 folders: admin content includes, or WP admin, WP content, and then a bunch of files. And in general, the most critical file as far as WordPress is concerned is our config file. They always will provide a WP config. Like if you downloaded WordPress from the internet, the file is called wp-config-sample or wp-config-sample. So you just kind of take the sample off the end of it and you configure it yourself. So if we look at this, it's really pretty simple. I actually much prefer to view these in VS Code, because I made it pretty. So these 4 guys up here, I mean, like in general, honestly, like these are the 3 you're going to mess with most. So you have to have your database name, and then within your server, like over here, you can see that SiteGround gives me databases and it gives me users. And then if I click this, which one is this? Oh, it's new site. Perfect. I should be able to assign this user to different databases. What I tend to do is just let it do what it wants me to do, which is a new user for every database. But you could have one user for all your databases. It doesn't really matter. But again, in this WP config file, we have database name, user, password. The host is almost always going to be a local host. But again, there's a million variables here. So we're just talking about, in general, the way things look. And then if we look at the one that we actually get from, so I did a SiteGround install. Like I let their tool create a site for me, because I just didn't want to mess with doing it myself. We can see that their file is very similar. So if we go back up to the top, remember the one on the right is what SiteGround created. So here's my database name and my user, and we can probably just look at those while we're sitting here. So databases, DBJT38. So that's this guy right here, which we know, that's our new site. And then my one user, if I click on that, the user is UKH. There he is. And then I don't think I can view, I'm actually kind of curious now. So can I view my password? No, I can only change my password. So you do want to make sure that when you're letting your hosting account like create a user for you, they're always going to give you a password, or you can set your password. You'll want to write it down because in general they're not going to let you view that. It's just for security. So all right, so there's our, for new site, there's our name, user, and password. This is something you can read about. We're not going to cover it today. The salt keys, you can get them right here. Like WordPress gives us the ability to change them, but I honest to God don't really know what they do, and I don't care. I've been doing this for 14 years. I know it has something to do with security. If a site gets compromised, I typically come in and change them. When you make a new site, they're blank. This is that default WP config we talked about. So I do go out to that site they give us and, copy and paste my new ones in there. But yeah, so anyway, those are the salt keys. And then the thing that we're really kind of focused on today, as we talked about, is the connection. So we need to be sure that our name, user, and password match. And then the table prefix. And that's what we're kind of focused on today. As I mentioned in the other video, you can see that WordPress kind of defaults to WP. The security nerds out there, God love them, they're keeping us safe. They always recommend that you change this. And I think we looked at this the other day. Like if you're in PHPMyAdmin and we go to new site, we will see that it's JZR, which is this guy right here. So we've identified that in our real config file. But if we go to other sites, this one happens to be CKL. We found a really cool one the other day. I forget this. So here's a WP. So here's somebody who didn't change theirs, which is fine. PCR is CFO. If you see multiples, like this one has HGR in there and it has CFO, chances are somebody didn't import. So somebody, like this site was probably initially started with CFO, and then a new site was imported into it. You would think I would know because this is my server, but be that as it may. Here's another WP. I did find a really cool one the other day. There's JZR. Blog has kept theirs the same. These are just sites that I've worked on in the past. Here's another one that probably got imported. This is ING, and then WP came in. There's PTK. So anyway, so that prefix is critically important when you're messing with your config file because it needs to match. It's going to say WP out of the box, but if you do an import or something, like, yeah, you're gonna need to fix that. So all right, so in general, that's kind of the gist of it. So if you have your site and you're making that connection, you just need to know what your database name is. And in the process of creating a database, we can just do it right now just for giggles. So if I create a database, it creates it for me. And then I'm always going to want to make note of these things just so I don't lose them, right? So I generally would I do like 3 rows. I do like that, and then I'm going to have a user and a password. So there's my new database. If I hit manage access, it's saying, do I want to add a new user? So SiteGround just knows the process here. Your user will always, kind of by default, always have all privileges. So it's asking me to select a user, which I don't ever do. I always just let SiteGround create one for me. So we're going to move over here and go to users, and I'm going to create a user. And it provides me with this, with everything. So that's kind of the important piece here. So now it's provided me with a user and a password And then if I hit manage access, here's that new database it just created. If I hit manage access, there it is. So our database is DB8SJ. So I'm going to choose that. Again, all privileges. And then if I go back to databases, there's my DB. And it has one user, which is UDDF, which is this cute little guy here. And then again, it's not going to show us the password. So, all right, well, so that's it. That's the kind of the gist of today's video. Is we're just making sure that database username and password match and the table prefix matches. Thanks for watching.